here. We'll get there.
Cool.
Jane, would you ask the gentleman to remove their cover before the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
Thank you.
In 3 minutes.
Actually 2.
No, according to this, it's 5:57.
According to mine it is 2. According to that it's not.
So probably more like 2 minutes, 30 seconds or something. No, 2 minutes.
Now it's 2.
And actually, former service members are allowed to remain covered and salute.
Say that again, Skip.
Former service members are allowed to remain covered and salute the flag. If you salute the flag while covered, you're not supposed to recite the.
But is that when you're in uniform?
No.
Really?
Okay, well, let it go. Let it go.
I don't like that rule. I think everybody should uncover.
Let it go. I think it's still respectful if you're saluting.
Yeah, it's respectful.
Well, I figure they went and possibly got shot at and everything else. They probably have the right to kind of do what they want on it, is within reason.
That's whatever.
Yeah. We learned that in boot.
Huh?
We learned that in boot camp.
Was you in service? We didn't realize that. It was good to know.
What branch?
Marine.
Marine.
I can't see you as a Marine. I'm sorry.
Good to know. Thank you. For your service.
Well, she's gonna sit in the second row. Oh, there's another seat maybe.
Can we come up front, guys?
Well, you can sit in a nice ocean chair. We just thought we'd take the first one.
Like 30 seconds.
Start the countdown.
Oh, I'm watching. All right.
Yep.
I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Grant?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Mayor Norman?
Yep.
Gibby?
Yes.
Storbeck?
Yes.
Adam Edmond?
Yep.
All right, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is over on the bulletin board. It's also available in pamphlet form at the website listed on the agenda. I need approval of the minutes for the December 10th, 2024 regular meeting.
We have something to discuss with that. Under water and sewer reports, where it says encountered a business that knowingly and willfully created blah, 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 the violation, I want that stricken from the record. That has no place in our meeting. What happens between the city and anybody that violates, that does not come to our meeting. And so therefore I ask that this get changed and we can approve the minutes at the next meeting.
Why wouldn't it be brought? It was under advisory from our water, just giving us an update of what happened. It's a part of the report.
And
Why
it
would
was
it be
in an
stricken?
open meeting.
It's an open meeting and everybody knows who was being discussed, and that has no place in this setting.
I agree. It wasn't appropriate for the report at hand.
And it does not need to be in our minutes.
Can we approve it with just it stricken?
Yeah.
So that way we don't have to come back to it?
Yeah.
Okay, I would second that, with that
Alright.
part stricken.
I also had one thing to add.
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
Shane.
On the discuss, approve, disapprove, for the cell tower, it was tabled, not no action. That's the only other correction.
I'll still second, please.
So Dean was first.
Sure.
Okay. Dean,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Survey,
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Alright, reports, golf.
We meet next month.
Alrighty, hospital, Mr. Gary.
They've hired a new CEO, he was at the board meeting. And so Sean, the interim is gonna be heading back to McCook. He'll come back and offer some assistance here and there, but, for the most part, his duties are done.
Villa,
I would like to defer to Raylene if she wants to. She's the board, Villa board.
Co-chair.
Well, the villa, our nursing home administrator in Orange State resigned, and, but we have to get a provisional now, and that's in the process. We do have 26 in the nursing home as of today, and 8 in assisted living, and we did have 10 Medicare, which they pay a lot more, so that's good news. We did make a profit last month, $15,882. The net line, they take off depreciation, but that's just a book number. And we did raise private rates slightly we have to be above Medicaid, so they will reimburse us correctly. So we raised it slightly to be 5% over Medicaid. And I did go to Pete Ricketts' office and tell him, or tell his staff person, that we really needed help on getting the reimbursement funds to try to put a push on them, and they are not easy to get anything done. They go and even one of our board members that works at the hospital has to do some bookkeeping. You know, you get it, send it in, no, you need to get another person to look at it, no, you gotta do 12 and 13, you get it back, and then no, you gotta do 10 and 2, and then you gotta do, so it takes. So we are owed around 600,000 just from reimbursements, almost all from the government. If they were a little more timely. And our accounts payable are high, and over half of that is what you could call it contract labor. You hear some people call it pool or agency. We spent $445,000 last year on that. If we can get locals to step up and not go to agency, that would make all the difference in the world. Because our numbers now are above, we're in the profit range. So anybody that can influence anybody to go to work and not be contract labor, it would be really great. So it's not too bad.
Just a quick question. Could we look at possibly raising the level of pay for the local nurses so we can attract more of them in and use less agency nurses?
Well, we just put in an incentive because they don't want to show up either. But we put in a $200 incentive every pay period for full-time and $100 for part-time. If they don't call in at the last minute and don't call in sick and don't call in for anything, they get $200 in that pay period. And we just put it in.
A month ago, I believe.
Yeah, the 1st of November, 1st of
I
December.
think it was middle of October.
No,
Or was it 1st of November?
Do we know why they're not wanting to come to work?
Oh, I want to go shopping with my friend, or
We don't offer benefits, that's a big part of it.
we can't afford to offer health insurance. And we've tried several times to go through the process of having an insurance company come in and go through everybody. Well, a big percentage are over, they have Medicare, or their husband has insurance and they're on that program. So what we get left, mostly the aides, and they can't afford what they have to pay. So it's never worked. And we've done that several times over the years. So if we can get some help and keep our census up, we'll be able to pay all this stuff off, and we just need to find administrators. So if anybody knows administrators out there looking for a job, have them give us a call and fill out the paperwork.
I have a question, Raylene. So, and maybe you can defer to Stacy if you want, but, are we using that, that third party for, doing the claims? It was gonna cost
Yeah.
us $25 per claim?
Yeah.
So are we getting better at getting our money back, or, yeah, are we seeing a benefit to that $25 per claim yet?
We are, it is speeding the process because they know all of the ins and outs of how the claims need to be billed. There are still some that we get rejected, and, you know, then you have to go back and figure out why they're rejecting it and put, you know, like a or a whatever number on the claim that needs to be on there before they'll process it.
Okay.
Are they part of, if it does get rejected, is that 25? I mean, are they still in the
That's
game where
still with
they
that process.
they go back and they resubmit?
Yep.
So they're with
They don't
it
charge
until
us
it's done.
again, right.
Okay, good. So you're not, that doesn't have to come back to you.
And
then.
that's
So
their,
good.
that's their only job, so.
Right, right. Well, that's good that it's not just well, we take care of the first round, but if it comes back, it's your problem, because that would not be
Well,
very consistent.
and the hospital, everybody has the same problem, because,
Right.
you know, person one may not be as fully trained in this, and then person two is fully trained, and three, he just got there, and it's quite a nightmare. Thank you.
I have a couple questions. So last time I had a discussion with the Villa board, and you were included in that. My understanding was that we had $125,000 still coming to us that was basically,
The ERC money.
ERC money.
okay?
And some people have received that, it's in process, so we will be getting that 125. And I asked Pete Ricker's office to see what they can do to get that implemented a little faster.
And then the other 125 from pandemic money, we're not gonna get that, is that
That's
our
still in
understanding
limbo.
at this time? And
Senator Fisher and the big wigs in Washington are working on that.
so which funds are they holding back because of that discrepancy?
The first payment we received,
The
Which was
65,000 or
125.
125?
but they've already withheld 57,000 from our reimbursement.
And have we started receiving payments after that, or are we still waiting for payments in lieu of that one being on hold?
Well, we don't know if we're gonna get the rest of it.
Okay.
Some of it's been turned down. We know that.
Well,
Like
the first
one of the
payment,
quarters was turned down, and
well, the first one was the one, and after they said we qualified, then they decided we didn't. We did receive the second one. We withdrew the third one, and the
Right.
fourth one is coming.
okay, yeah.
So at this point, we have $498,000 of debt.
And 275 of that is temporary help.
We owe the company that's leaving us 99,000 as of last December 2nd. They have submitted a letter that they're ending February?
January 3rd.
January 3rd. So they moved it up when the
Would take-
administrator is quitting. So their letter of 60 days now turned into 30 days. So we basically have,
Well, it didn't even.
how many
turn into
days
30
left? Huh?
Didn't even turn into 30 days.
Okay, so at this point, we basically have a week and a half left, 2 weeks left, and she's gone. And so, is it the Villa board? Is it this council? Who makes the decision on the new administrator, and when is that decision gonna be made?
We will have an interim provisional person, and it can be anybody. It can be the janitor, it can be you, it can be me. You don't
Okay.
have to have a and that'll last for 6 months.
And do we have somebody in mind?
That's not something I'm going to disclose.
Okay, well, I have a feeling I know who you're leaning towards, and that contract has been withdrawn.
Well, I know what you're talking about. I did talk to them today.
It's off the table, they can't.
I know.
Yeah, okay, so Anybody else we put in that position has to offer 40 hours a week, so we can't just add in somebody that's doing double duty.
We know.
As of today, you know.
No, we've known it for a week or so.
No, that's,
No, we've known they have to have 40 hours.
Tim being the interim from Prairie Pines through the
He cannot do
hospital,
it.
that contract was just rescinded today,
Yes, I know, I got a copy of it, and I got a call from the hospital
today,
today.
not a week ago, today.
Yeah, but the staff, our board knew a week ago that they had to put in 40 hours.
Okay, and so at what point are we gonna decide who the administrator is? At what time is the board gonna provide that information?
It's in the process. That's all I'm gonna tell you at the moment. It's confidential at this point.
I'm having a hard time with all this at this point. I am requesting from this council that we have a town hall meeting on this subject. I've requested it for 2 months. I have insisted on it for over 2 weeks and been stonewalled every ounce of the way. This information needs to come out because none of the information I get from any party involved matches up to what the other person says day to day, week to week. And nobody has answers. At what point, I'm gonna stop you just for a second, because at what point, that's $500,000 that we are in debt. At what point does the town people have a chance to speak their say-so and say, that's the line in the sand? Is it 600,000, 700, 800, a million? When do we allow the village to bankrupt us before the town has a say-so in this? And I'm asking everybody involved. I mean, I would be livid if I were you. You went through it last time, and it wasn't a fun experience. We're well over that amount of money, way past it, because that doesn't even include the line of credit that we put the property on loan for. So we are well past that amount, and nobody in town knows the truth, and nobody here is willing to talk about it. So at what point, everybody, are you willing to bankrupt the town? Because here's the situation right now. If that bill would bankrupt us, forget any grants in the future, because you don't get nothing after you file bankruptcy. On top of it, if that facility closes, which it probably will at this rate, because of how fast it's racking up debt, you drop your numbers below 800 when you become a village. We're a bankrupt village. You won't get any funding for anything. You're done.
Now,
So I am insisting on a town hall meeting, and if you don't want one, I want you to answer to that right now. Why? Because it's ridiculous at this point.
Stacy has been paying these people, and they want, and so she's been paying them. We sent out a letter, they told them that, and so each one gets some payment. That's where the funds coming in.
That's not the issue. It's the working out payments on $500,000 in debt when the villa doesn't make money over the course of the year. It makes little to none. You cannot pay off $500,000 worth of debt in 4 to 5 years, and the situation's only to get more rough over the next 4 years.
We can get employees that are not cool.
I've been hearing this since 4 years ago, during the pandemic. Nothing has been resolved. Nothing has been done differently. The management company that is a pro at this left us $500,000 in debt. Plus, it's literally over 565. We're about ready to vote on another 23,000, and nobody can answer to why we haven't gone after the other 27,000 that we already spent on the same part. And this is not just you. It's the council, it's everybody. We have to get on the same page on this, or we are going baroque to the point we have to file bankruptcy. It's a slap in the face to not tell these people the truth anymore. You knew about the letter from the government back in April, didn't even bring it to the council till it was the day that we had the pool meeting, because Skip walked in like he just saw a ghost when he found out himself how much money you guys were in debt at the village. That's when the real truth hit. Okay, and it's been basically behind the curtain this whole time, and still right now asking a question want to be kept behind the curtain. It's not acceptable anymore. It's not. It has to be brought to the table, and it has to be brought in front of the town, and we as a town need to decide how we want to proceed, because another $100,000 down, maybe in another 2 months something else happens, another little problem, a little mix up here and there. Guess what? Like, that's almost $700,000.
And the government owes us $600,000.
Wait all day long.
We get it.
These
We
people
get it.
start suing us.
We get it regularly.
We're bankrupt. The town's bankrupt, not the villa. We are. the people. And then we still have to pay all that debt. Because they're not gonna let us off the hook on all this. And I'm sorry, excuse time's over. I've heard the same excuses as a citizen 4 years ago to today from the villa of how we can correct the issue and put it on the shoulders of the community. It's not happening. Nobody can even find help in a restaurant, to a bar, there's not enough people. It's not gonna happen. It's just not. And the traveling nurse situation, it's not just little Crawford, it's Chadron Hospital. It's the big boys all over the country. There's not enough bodies to fill the seats. That's why everybody, the biggest companies are getting out of this game. It's a different world, and we don't have the answers. I have not heard any answers different in 4 years to today, and this is where we're at. And again, it's not just you, it's not just me, we all have to do this together. And if we don't, then I want the 1-2 people that make all the decisions to own it when the town collapses. 'Cause that's where we're at.
My question is, why haven't we had a town hall meeting? I was at council last time, and honestly, I came because I thought the villa problem, and I don't stand up, Carrie Carter. I really thought the villa problem would be at least mentioned. And I mean, I don't know, when I walked out, I thought, that's really why I went, to see what possibly was in the plan for the villa, or a town hall or something.
Because we're negotiating and looking at different options, but I still felt that those negotiations should be brought to the front and let people know what we're trying to do here, see if that's even okay with them. And I was told that that could break down the negotiation process. Well, here's the thing. If that little simple act of bringing it to the public knowledge during the negotiation period like that, then they're the wrong company if they're gonna get that upset or
Well,
and not the one I was talking to, they weren't
I
gonna get
just
upset
always
like that.
thought, when things start being circulated around town and we know the villa might have problems, that's the time to come together and possibly have a town hall, not a month later, or,
I totally
I mean,
agree.
at least let the public know. Rumors kill you.
Absolutely.
But
Tony and I have attempted for, I don't know how long, and we get stonewalled on it. It can't become to the majority to allow it to happen. Shane
then I
has,
think the
Shane has
council
to
needs to
recuse
have some
himself because he
mediation or
works
something
for
to
them.
get this solved.
What's
One
that?
way or the other, just an answer.
I'll go ahead and come forward and speak to my behalf since initially introduced to the issue, I know from my perspective, I felt the need for the city to work with the board as much as we can. This does not need to become something where we work against each other and rocks are thrown back and forth like it was last time. I don't think that helped us in any way. Any answer that we have to this is not going to be fast. It's not going to be quick. And we have to take our time, put our heads together, and be realistic about what we expect. We also need to make sure that we're researching, make sure that, you know, if we do put this facility, whatever we consider, is it realistic? Are we buying it 2 more years before we have to experience this again, because this is where the healthcare industry is? Or is there a viable option out there where we have legitimate longevity to it? And I think those are all really realistic questions. At this time, where I can't provide most of those answers yet, I don't know that it's fair to offer a town hall where I can't answer the majority of the questions that are going to be asked. I would like to know more about giving you real answers before I jump to, you know, putting concern and getting everybody to worry that we have no options.
The hospital offered me today that they would help us with employees and to get it in, because they've looked at the financials. They don't think it's as severe as some people think it is, because we have this incoming money all the time. And if we can get that number down, and it might take a while, because that's a lot of money, $275,000 what I ended up today from a month ago. I think it's a month ago sheet that we printed off. And Stacy makes periodic payments to most people. You know, everybody has to take their turn and get some money to keep them from suing. Well, we gotta meet payroll, and we gotta have food, and we gotta have electricity, and we gotta have, you know, the very basics, and that's what we're doing. But our census is up, and when we get Medicare people, that's like out of the hospital, like a broken hip. you get like twice as much money maybe, is that about right? You get twice as much money per day. And last month we had 10 Medicare out of 27. That's damn near half of them. So that brings in a lot more money. We have to pay for some of their care, like therapy and some medication, but we still make money on that. So, and this month we should have another profit.
I can see both. I can see both sides, but somebody needs to pull their head out of their ass and get together. You guys need to, everybody needs to know what's going on. Doesn't have to be all of us, because we have members here that we've elected. But you guys, just like the golf board, I mentioned last time, you guys need to talk with the golf board, you need to talk with the village board.
We had a meeting with the Bill board a month ago, or roughly a month ago, and I thought the purpose of it was to get all the information and then, let the public know in a town hall, some semblance of where the city was at.
General order of what's
Right,
happening.
and the outlay of the city, and from that meeting,
That's not all a bad idea, but the public doesn't know the won't and doesn't need to know the fine details, but you guys do. Somebody needs to know. That's checks and balances.
Well, that goes hand in hand with every other issue in town, though. If you're gonna go to that extent, then, again, been requesting a whiteboard meeting where everything gets thrown up there, every single problem, again, that the city doesn't know about. You hear rumors here and there about this and that. Want a town hall tour where everybody goes and sees the facilities that we talk about that are in such disrepair at this time. All these things, and as a town, I think we need to set a goal of where we're going to get to or want to get to, whether it's 1, 3, 5 years, and we all work for that, to get a win in this town. But during that time, when we have these types of issues, if it's deviating us away from that end goal, then you know what, some things need to be left to the side. But here's the part I'm gonna address also is the hospital offering employees or help, that's not necessarily, they're not gonna send over their employees. They're gonna work with the college to try and create some sort of program to help both facilities with CNAs. That's what they're gonna try and do, but they're not offering employees. As far as working together and as a group, I have texted, I have asked for, if you wanna have talks, you won't even say hi. I don't know how we're supposed to progress when he was Villa Board liaison, I was Hospital Board liaison, and the other half of the council won't even talk to us about the issue at hand and cuts us out of the process. There's no communication there. There is no end result that is gonna be positive with that type of council. And like the man said, we're here because they elected us or put us in this position and want us to work together, and that's not happening. There's dishonesty, miscommunication, it's not happening. And that's why.
You wanna know where we're at?
That's why.
You wanna know where we're at? We don't need this crap.
This is why we need to.
Be a leader, tell them to shut up.
Stop, guys, we're done. Done. This is over.
Finish your report.
This is why we need to.
No, we're done. All right, moving on, Swan Board, please.
Next.
All right, NNDC.
And NDC is also next one.
All right, number 6. Discuss, approve, disapprove advertising for stormwater curb inlet repairs at 1st and Elm Street and 3rd and Elm Street, 3rd and Annan Street and 6th and Annan Street, and where to advertise.
I think we need to put it out for bid.
Well, yeah, advertising for bid, that's what it is for, yeah. Just missed the for bid.
And that's all 4 of them listed in.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve advertising for all 4 stormwater curb inlets.
Second.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gibby,
Yes.
Surbeck.
yes.
All right, number 7, do we state where we're gonna advertise?
Your legal newspapers, Crawford, Clipper.
So just Clipper or a couple other?
You could send it out to others individually if you choose.
Sounds good. All right. Number 7, discuss approve, disapprove Ponderosa Villa bathhouse repair estimate from Morford's Decorating Center and financial assistance from the city.
I have questions as far as, so I went to Crawford Area Development Fund meeting last night. They still have $6,265.87 that could or can be at some point allocated to the Ponderosa Villa. When I presented this, Faith, also the acting administrator as of right now till 3rd, she was there as well. She initially presented and then I followed up. Just kind of letting them know the situation that we're in, and their first question was, why haven't we basically gotten a refund or money back from the insurance company or the person that worked on it initially, because that project was over $27,000. This project's 23. If it's that bad, we should be talking to his insurance company. I said at that point, the only response I've gotten is, you can't get any money out of the guy, he doesn't have it. But my, I guess to whoever is in the know at this point, Adam or April or Chris, as far as that went, has anybody contacted his insurance and filed a claim?
I haven't, I don't know what, we don't have,
Stacy?
the damage amount would be whatever we have to pay to fix his problem.
Well, we know what that is, we have the estimate.
Now we do, yes.
So,
I said the only thing, I spoke to Stacy about having his COI or his certificate of insurance on file and contacting them to see what we could do to start that, and once she heard from them to follow up with that.
And I just found the contract and stuff earlier today with all of that, cause it was filed in my dead files, so. And Brent does have a copy of the COIs that I had. One of them was from 2021, and the other one is 2023
But June,
of June.
so, or June or May, but you believe the work started in March? Is that correct?
The contract was signed in March. It was 2 months, 3 months before we actually went in and started
The leak happened on
in
Christmas
December.
Eve.
Right.
And at that time, Tom, your mayor, Tom Phillips came up and he wanted to hire a city person and have to come do it. And we didn't have anybody hired, we hadn't talked to council. And, the only other person we had was Carpenter at that time. And so he was, but he did start work when he wasn't there consistently. And so we withheld part of the funds.
But I do think that it was 2 to 3 months after the contract was signed that he started work.
Okay.
I don't know an exact date, nobody wrote it down.
the reality is, it doesn't matter when he started working.
It does.
Does it? Because
Yes, it does.
he did a project. He was responsible
I talked to
for
the
it, right?
insurance company today, and I need an exact date of start and finish. If he started the project before he actually had insurance coverage with them, they're not gonna cover any part of the claim. Now, my understanding through the grapevine of Crawford is his initial proof of insurance was invalid. He didn't have it or it expired. So somebody, don't know who, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not trying to be accusatory here, but somebody told him he needed to get insurance. So he provided insurance, that's when it was dated
I think we're getting
June. Well, no,
way
this,
deep in the woods, talking about a businessman in town. I think we need to stop this immediately.
Reality.
Well,
Well, there's two things here, you gotta decide what's on the agenda, are you gonna?
this is part of it though, this
And
is,
two, what the remedies are versus him. I agree that we need to look at all remedies to try to recoup what he was paid. I don't disagree with that at all. We reach out,
Well,
to
so
the
so this-
insurance agent, and if not, we take him to court.
So this is something we can discuss, like, get together and discuss after the meeting, those who need to.
this is just ridiculous. You're asking us to spend another $23,000 on a facility that's $565,000 plus in debt, that we don't know if we're ever gonna get any of the money back that we've already spent. And if you add those two factors in, that's another 50 grand. We're up to, $635,000, somewhere in there, like, it's a legitimate question of, if we're gonna spend this money, are we gonna go after Sitchin, or do we have any option to go after them? If not, then
It's a legitimate question.
When I talked to Tony, when Tony and I talked about this 3-4 weeks ago, I think I think you're right. I think we should try to be reimbursed. I have no problem with that. But we do have a facility that may have a liability issue that we do have to fix or not use.
and
That's why, how I break it out in my head.
And that's, I guess, where the town hall meeting, if we would decide, you know, how much more are we willing to invest in a business that's $565,000. Everybody complains about the golf course. They lost 21 grand last year. Everybody goes ape crap over that place. This is $565,000, and we're supposed to put 23 more thousand in. It's a liability, I understand.
But we're the largest business in town, and economic development, closing it
I do
alone
not want
won't
to
kill
close
it.
the facility. I believe it's discussion.
Raylene, question. If we approve to pay for this, is there a way we can get something, looking at the bill, or reimbursing us over time?
If we can get non-cruel help.
I don't know how they'd be able to tell you that right now.
I don't.
With the numbers that they have,
Right.
And it's a
Just
city-owned
asking.
building.
It is.
It's
Or
ultimately
paying
our
part of
facility.
it over time or something.
It's our facility.
Yeah, no, I just.
Whether if the village closed, it would be our facility to take
Yeah.
care of.
That is true. Just was kind of an idea. The other thing is, am I wrong, can't we use this towards the ARPA?
Where ARPA funds need to be determined today, we can use, if we use everything that we've already paid for, it releases all those funds to be used in a way that we can use them in any way we want. So therefore, in the long run, yes, you could, after you reserve whatever we've already paid, to reimburse us for everything we've already paid, then technically it releases all those funds to be used towards anything without any restriction. So in that direction, you could consider that.
Alright, come back to this.
So,
Do we have a timeline on when this has to be fixed and addressed?
Yes.
It's been a
The
liability.
liability
It's
of
a huge liability.
The liability.
so my thing is this, if it's a liability issue, let's, try to get something resolved. So do I have a motion to pass it, or is everybody not wanting?
Spend it and without ARPA funds, we got money in the bank to cover the 23,000, Gene?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we just pay Morford's to fix the bathhouse at the building.
I'll second the motion.
Dean,
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
Starbeck,
Yes.
Grant.
Yes.
Alright,
I will let John Morford know that it's been approved.
awesome, thank you. Number 8, discuss, approve, disapprove allocation of ARPA funds.
I would like to just see every bill, like April said,
Jeannie's got a list.
yeah, and basically everything that we've already paid for up to the amount and slightly over, and submit it all and let them max us out, and then open discussion after that gets approved on how we disperse those funds.
You wanna read them off?
Yeah, the ones that come close, so our original loan, our original, budget that they, dispersed was $164,598.60. So we've already obligated $13,216. So according to ARPA, our balance is $151,382.60. But the bank is different. The bank, we have interest on it, but we're only doing 151. Out of all of the water, sewer warrants that have already been paid, the ones that come close to that amount are Cummings for a little over 25,000, the JCI, which is over 51,000, Hawk over 23,000, the Ditch Witch that we purchased, the 39,000, and then Jared Allen, which is over 14,000. So that totals $153,973.80. So that's just going over 2,591. But within each company are multiple warrants, so you can give and take and even lower that further.
Do you recommend that we go ahead and have enough that would cover the interest that we've incurred from that money as well? Just to be safe that we don't have to give that interest money back?
It sounds like you're gonna be pretty close.
I'd rather go over.
So, yeah.
I'd rather do the whole.
Is that time?
We can find more.
So,
too.
well,
That time frame, it's gonna be close
Okay.
with the interest.
Currently, we have 152,576 in the bank, and that's including.
So you,
interest.
right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you for putting together that list, Jeannie. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve allocation of the ARPA funds for those that apply for that, off that list for that amount, please.
I'll second.
Grant,
Yes.
Bean,
Yes.
Getty,
Yes.
Survey.
Yes.
All right, number 9, discuss, approve, disapprove updated information regarding the American Cell Tower contract and moving forward with contract negotiations. So, we discussed this a little bit last meeting. Chris, you said you had some information that you had recently gotten and wanted
Well,
another couple weeks.
just what we need to be asking for is one of the things. So after talking with Tony, it seems like they're really stuck on this 10-year lease, and so therefore.
Or the one-time payment, either one of them works. But, yeah.
Yeah.
That agreement, either one, whichever.
So, I guess I'm all right with a 10-year lease as long as there's an escalation clause in there that is tied to inflation. Another thing is, I really don't feel comfortable with a lump sum payment. I'd like to stay with our annual payments. It won't mess up the budget. And we can be very specific on what we use that money for. And I think I'm just 25% of one vote here, but what I think is we should allocate all that money from the rent, which is totaling, what was it, 27,000 a year or something like that.
Well, with the initial paperwork that we got, it was,
$25,800.
yeah.
So I would like to apply all that to servicing the debt that the city has. This is the biggest problem that we face, is all the debt that this council has been stuck with. Now the bonds, there's really nothing we can do about it. You can pay them off early, but you still owe the same amount of interest. But it's all the other loans that the city has. I would like to be paying that money towards our debt on an annual basis to reduce our interest that we pay out. In fact, 25,000 would pay off 2 loans, I believe, that we have right now. One would be the backhoe and the other would be the street sweeper. Get those out of the way, and then we can continue on and pay more towards the bigger loans that we have. We gotta get out of debt. We cannot get a loan. The city of Crawford is really teetering on not being able to get a loan at all, because our debt to income ratio is too high. That's what I would like to see done with the money.
Do we know the interest rate on those 2 loans?
Not right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That was in our audit report. If we paid off Well, and see, this is the other thing that we have to think about. We also have, how many pickups do we have?
5?
5. Those need to be, getting replaced. And, I mean, look at one of the.
5 in a van.
Hmm?
5
in a van.
And then we have the dump truck.
Right. We need to get to a place where we can be purchasing a new pickup probably every 2 or 3 years. But we have so many old ones that it might have to be every year we buy one for a little while. The loader, so when Phil was the street supervisor, when Dan was the street supervisor, they both told me that the loader is still at an age where we'd have a good trade-in value on it, but we're definitely in the next couple of years going to be looking at having to trade that in or put a ton of money into it. And the longer we keep it, the less trade-in value we're going to have. The backhoe's in the same position. Low-hour machine, but needs all new pins and bushings. So things like that is, I think, what we need to focus with the money that we get in rent for the tower.
So just as information, and I talked to you, Chris, about this, I've been in contact with this Brian Miller. He's the lease administrator for American Tower. And he did say we could request up to another $10,000 on this one-time payment plan. And he said their board would decide they might not award the extra $10,000, but they would consider it and they would come back with a counter offer. But that offer would be not a non-negotiable offer at that point. They would not go into negotiation over this type of a contract again. So that would, I mean, that would put you under $225,000 as a one-time payment. Over 10 years, that's $270,000. It would be under that. It's whatever. The calculations on this are at 3%, I believe, per year. So are you talking about an adjustment of 3% cost of living, or 3% over the 3%, or because there's 3% built in there?
Yeah, I'm really struggling with a 10-year contract, and yeah, I think it's like I said last meeting, you don't know what our money's even going to be worth in 5 years, let alone 10 years. And the going rate for a cell phone tower in 5 years might be double what they're offering right now. And I don't want to cut ourselves short. So maybe we should just stick with 5 years is all we're willing to sign right now.
So right now, I mean, we don't have, technically, I mean, this would just be for opening for negotiation, correct? Because our lawyer hasn't even talked to
We
us.
don't have a contract. This is just a counter offer, I suppose, is what you're talking about.
Right, I mean.
Yeah, but the basics of it is, they have over 600,000 of these towers. They use a calculator to calculate what they're gonna pay every community, because they don't have time to do this, what we're doing right now. They make an offer within their calculations that is an appropriate offer based on every other tower that they do. That's why the wiggle room on this is like less than, right around 5%, like possibly. And he said that's the very highest end that he's ever seen them approved is an additional 10,000. That means the contract that he was looking at could have been an $800,000 contract. They were only willing to move 10 grand. So that's not saying we will get 10, but it gets put in front of the board. They vote on it, and then they say yes or no, basically, or a counter. But the contract that we have currently, from my understanding, expires in 2039.
Right.
If we let that play out, then we could possibly, like you're saying, what's the tower's worth at that time? let them come up with a new number, and it could possibly be a lot of money, but what's the value of a dollar then? Do we have a town then? Do they just tear the tower down and we got shortchanged because they don't need it anymore? That's a possibility too. Those are all possibilities. We're rolling the dice here. We're kind of gambling on the decision we make, no matter which way we go. As far as the annual payments, we need to know interest rates of all the loans we're looking at paying off. One way to automatically reduce the interest that we gather on those is if we know we have those payments for the annual on some of those longer term ones, make all those payments upfront at the start of the year, and you accrue less interest the next time you pay next year. That's a way to automatically reduce your interest rate. And all I'm doing here is showing there's other ways we can save money as well on some of these bigger loans that we have, where if we take this lump sum money, I've heard grants for the pool, grants for rodeo grounds, grants for this, grants for that. We have no money to match. If we take the lump sum, we can invest it in the community right now when the value of the dollar is stronger than it's probably gonna be in 5, 10 years, and get a bigger bang for the buck over time. If we play this correctly, look at the rest of our finances, that's why I've asked, like, you know, what these interest rates are, because there's ways that we can look at this from 1,000 different ways, but we gotta start with the basic. What are the interest rates we owe? What's the terms on those? What's the payoff on those, the percentage? What do we save? So if that's an option, I mean, what was the date that we had that we have to decide on this contract, though? It was coming up, wasn't it?
Well, no, he said, that we had till January, and then their board
They still
decides
pulls
if,
it off.
well, they decide if they're gonna pull it off the table, or if they're gonna,
And wasn't it like January 12th or 13th that they
Yeah,
told us or something?
yeah, I just wouldn't, I don't have a date written down.
So if we don't make the decision right now, we could possibly lose this altogether for another year, 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, we don't know. Again, every decision has a gamble, risk, reward, so mine would be to take the lump sum and again, set it aside till we have more time to pay things accordingly. Over time, we can make up that 43,000 easy over the course of 10 years if we play with the money correctly.
Okay, just an outsider looking, okay? All of our debts, we have backhoe, you know, loader, street sweeper, all of our debts combined. Interest rates for each one of them, say we owe 10% interest for the backhoe, 10% for the loader, 10% for the street sweeper. If we took a lump sum and we just paid all those off right now, that's all that interest that we could possibly get rid of. Vice, the interest, if say we took payments over years, maybe we were only getting 5%, 6% interest, versus killing all the interest that's hurting our debt to income ratio right now. Just get rid of it, pay them all off, and then whatever's left over, then we can use that for like grants to match funds. That would be my recommendation.
So I do know this one pretty good. So in 2008, right, they built the clubhouse, $132,000. In 2018, they refinanced it, dragging it out to 2039. So that $132,000 building, the city is gonna pay for 3 times if we let that just sit there and pay the minimum payment every year.
What's the amount owed on it right now?
But your principal's like 78,000.
Yeah.
So, lump
Principal
sum, you
on
can
it
pay it off, if that's your
78,000.
concern.
If we could get out from underneath a lot of our debts immediately and fix our debt to income ratio and still have money left.
But that's a perfect example of what you're talking about. The reason not to take the 215 is the reason to take the 215. Pay the 78,000 off, and you save yourself 2 new clubhouses over the course of that time. Like, that's.
So can we ask for the 215 plus 5 and ask Adam to
Well, that's
negotiate?
what I was gonna ask Tony. So Tony thought if we went at them, so say we counter, say, yeah, draft the contract, well, we'd like 225.
Well, you can ask for whatever you want, but,
But that's
That'd
what
be
he was
about
kinda
5%
saying,
increase.
that was kinda saying where he was top end. as
right,
far as-
that's what he said, yeah.
So, which is a net loss over the time of 33 grand if we got the 225
Right.
versus the long term.
But paying off.
And you do pay down your interest, you
Actually
do pay off
saves.
your interest and get your principal cleaned up on the loan.
Jeannie, do you know what we're currently using the 9,000 plus that we're getting? What is it going to affect in the budget?
Currently,
If
we're not
it-
using
I mean, honestly, it
Anything
Not
specific?
anything.
honestly, it shouldn't really affect anything. We had, what, 170,000 set aside for
Truthfully, if we take,
rainy day
if we
fund or
take the
whatever.
one-time payment, we're gonna have to amend our budget so we can have the spending authority left.
But that
That's
was,
doable.
that
That's a
was pretty
doable
much
thing.
included
Yep.
in, they gave us extra wiggle room
Yep.
in the budget
Yep.
for situations like this. But the other part, so we offer that as our proposal, put it in front of their board, they come back to us with a preliminary, that's when you look at it.
Yep.
And then if you see any flaws, but most likely, like I said, they do this with over 600, I think it was 660,000 towers, so this is,
And I suspect they're gonna be stuck on.
but that's,
they're
you'll have your
gonna-
chance.
They're gonna be stuck on the 10 years. That's.
No,
Well, they did tell me that,
oh, as far as,
If you do a one-time 225,
Right.
that's our counter. They're gonna want the 10 years.
Yeah.
Which is still shorter than the previous contract that we signed.
but it's more money.
When it was kind of a new thing and found money,
So this, does it,
but that terminates in
take
the
the-
10 years, that terminates the contract, and then they
then after
own
the
their,
10 years,
they own
Then they.
the lease or the easement until they take the tower down.
we're giving up the land for this?
Not technically, they own it until, it's kinda like a school. So like the rural schools, if somebody owned that land and let the school use it,
So with
once
the
that
one
school
time, it
closed.
releases to them, but with the 10 years, it doesn't.
From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong,
I-
either way,
I can't
once it's over,
Yeah,
and they don't want the tower, they're done, whatever, it does revert back to the city, either way,
it's a
correct?
lease.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
still a lease.
Yes,
It's
so
an
they
easement.
control it after 10 years
So
until
we
it,
still get to keep the ground, so it's
Yeah.
just, okay.
it's just like a school site.
They
I
will
was
never pay
concerned
us
that you were
again
alluding
after the
to-
10 years, or the lump
Or the
sum.
lump
That's
sum.
the end of the money part of it. And then as soon as the tower comes down, there's an allotted amount of time that they have to tear the tower down. Now, it's in their favor to turn it down.
I understand that part.
Okay, well, maybe they,
So,
so,
I get another question.
yes, sir.
Jane, if I can ask you, do you remember what you were using the money for?
Just to help balance the budget,
Just the budget balance.
comes into general and general transfer with all the other funds.
And that was, I was originally
Part of the
concerned
pool.
about a one-time payment, as we rely on that $12,000 annually to make our budget. But if we did make sure that we use those funds to pay off that debt, then that does relieve that, probably over that in our budget as far as what we need to pay. So that fixes that, then, as long as we put it towards debt, so.
saves us
Um,
$100,000.
My question is, after the 10 years, then do we renegotiate for the next, if they want to keep the tower there, do they propose like the next 10 years after that then? Is that what this
No.
contract looks like?
It appears to me it's for the useful life of that tower.
yes.
So if after 10 years they deem that tower isn't what technology says they need, and they gotta come put another tower on, I think then we're
We have to
renegotiating.
renegotiate, okay.
But pursuant to this, if that tower's depreciated out, they need to replace it with a better tower, new technology, whatever.
Or they go to a
Then we-
shorter tower.
Then we'd be at the table negotiating with them again.
Sure.
But
See,
for the life of
does it
the
feel
current
to
tower.
anybody else like,
But if we decide they can use
like-
that tower for another 10 years, it just stands there for 10 years and we don't get another penny.
Correct.
Correct.
And that's either way, that's on either end of that contract, whether we
Yes.
take a yearly or.
Yes.
However, down the road, I mean, like they said, it is a gamble, we could lose.
But they could also
Or
come
we-
in a year, kick the tower down. and we
Right,
get nothing.
but the upside, in my opinion, the upside to this is it's at our use, that kind of money. So we could invest and try to collect 8%, or not 8%, what is it, 4.5% on that several
But
months?
Shane, you gotta look at, like I was saying, if we pay off
No,
our
I
remaining
agree.
debt, we cancel 30% interest versus gaining.
No,
8%.
I agree, but if you take the rest then and invest at 8%, or not 8%, 4.5% over 7 months, in a year's time, that's way more than.
What it amounts to is, we've got 14 years left on the contract that pays us 12 plus 3% annually.
No, It's only at 9 right now,
Well,
and goes up 3%.
I thought you said it was 12.
It's 9 and change right now.
I thought
That's
we
the
were,
last.
we're up to 12.
It's 12.
It's 3% every year, and it will continue to do so, but there's
Right.
still right now 50% of the annual payment they're talking
As
about
long as.
to term the contract, to term this out in short term and get rid of it at the end of 10
We'd
years.
save more than this amount of money if we did what Skip was saying as far as paying off debts with that lump sum. We'd save more money and interest over the course of that time than we're gonna receive.
You know what? I'm tired of arguing about it, and if we're gonna use this money for servicing the debt, I'm good.
And we have to be smart about which debt we service first, interest rates, terms, what we're gonna say. And I'm in full agreement with you. I just want that to be clear, that we have not agreed to exactly which one we're paying on.
Well, like
Well,
I said,
at that
And
point.
for right now, you don't have to
Right.
decide that.
Yeah.
We just need to decide, you need collectively to decide whether you wanna send something to them saying, we want a one-time payment of $225,000, or we want a 10-year payment at $258. That's,
Yeah.
send them that information, and they gotta put together their stuff for us to approve. There's tiers of approval here.
I'm not a math major by any means, but over the course of 10 years, you got $33,000 difference between the two,
40.
okay, roughly.
If you get
If you get the.
Now, over 3 loans, say the loader, the street sweeper, the golf course building, we're gonna inquire a hell of a lot more than $40,000 in interest in 10 years.
Right.
We would be dumb not to take a lump sum and just kill all 3 of those debts immediately.
well, yeah, in 10 years, we'll pay for another clubhouse.
Exactly. And we can stop that right here, right now with a one-time payment.
Okay. I'll go ahead and make a motion to request that Adam negotiate regarding the American Cell Tower contract, and the direction of one-time payment for the 215 plus 10,000 to be,
225 one time.
yeah.
And that's the offer. That's
To be,
basically where we're
yeah,
at.
to be used towards debt, please.
I'll second.
Grant,
Yes?
Dean,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
perfect.
Yes.
All right, number 10. So at this time, it's discuss, approve, disapprove council member Tony Storbeck resignation as he requested at the last meeting. I thank you for your time.
Yeah, well,
Much
appreciate
appreciated.
the time.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, sadly.
I second
No.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Debbie,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Grant.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Tony.
Motion
Thank you,
passes.
Tony.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tony.
Thank you,
All right, number 11. I'll let Tony get seated before I go.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm not gonna disrupt.
Number 11, discuss, approve, disapprove, my recommendation for council member, if it's approved, he will be sworn in and fill the seat. So my recommendation is Scott DeBach.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'd like to second.
Debbie,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. Congratulations.
Congrats, come on up. Did you bring the Bibles? I was gonna say, we're at a library, I'm sure we can find another one.
Okay. I, Scott DeBach, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion. And that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of City Council Member according to law and to the best of my ability. And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence. and that during such time as I am in this position, I do not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence. So help me God.
Alright, number 12, discuss, approve, disapprove application of plumbing permit for budget plumbing.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, I was putting.
Skip made the motion, second was Gavin.
Yes.
Gabby?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Devon?
Yes.
Number 13, discuss, approve, disapprove application of plumbing permit for Applegarth Plumbing.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Dean?
Yes.
Gabby?
Yes.
Devon?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Can I ask a question quick on that, Alan? So, yeah, I just, never mind, I'll have to. Alright, number 14, discuss, approve, disapprove newly appointed board member Ann Stevens to the Crawford Public Library Board of Trustees. She'll be replacing outgoing member David Kine.
Make a motion to approve Ann Stevens for library board.
I'll second.
Dean?
Yes.
Gabby?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Devon?
Yes.
I was gonna tell her congrats, but she's not here. Alright, 15, discuss, approve, disapprove reappointment of Brendan Lilly as street superintendent for 2025.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Dean?
Yes.
Gabby?
Yes.
Devon?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Number 16, discuss, approve, disapprove reappointment of AEO Consulting Group as city engineer for 2025.
You know, on this, now that they've become JEO instead of Baker and Associates, you know, I got a good working relationship with Jack. He's a good guy. So this year, I'm not opposed to reappointing them, but I think that gives us a year to look at other local engineering firms and see what's available. We get a lot of advertisements from statewide engineering firms, and I'm not really interested in that. I'd like to keep it as close to home as possible. So for now, I'm good with this.
There's basically two firms that you would consider local.
Who's
Well,
the other one?
Olson and Associates.
Olson.
They're out of Scottsbluff also.
They're statewide, but they have an office.
Can I?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe. If you didn't live through it, you probably never would think of this, but I do know, when it comes to an engineering firm, if you remember back in end of 11, beginning of 12, when we moved from Shaft to Baker, it was just done as a motion. And because of that, CDBG, which I know we're debt heavy, so you're probably not gonna ever look, I don't know if the pool would think of looking at CDBG, but CDBG requires you to have use the engineer on record for 3 years, or you have to do a proper procurement going through RFPs and stuff. So if you were to just change at a meeting, and you didn't go through RFPs, request for proposals, and the whole shebang, we did lose some CDBG money because we couldn't claim any engineering money through CDBG.
Question where it was Jack Baker and that's who we were using.
This one.
And
now
we're-
it's
Just
JEO,
JEO.
it would carry on.
They're merged, yeah, it's the same firm.
So,
Thank you so much.
Right,
for some-
right,
Just be
but I
sure you
get
do
what you're
RFPs and do all that.
Okay.
Just in case.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, CDBG.
Yeah.
They're very good.
I would say, to what Jay's saying, if you wanna change, let us know 3 months ahead, so we can do an RFP to go that way. Just do it at a meeting, it's a little difficult when you don't know.
alrighty.
Need a motion.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve reappointing JDO.
Need a second, please, on JDO.
Awesome.
Dean,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Don,
Yeah.
Grant, yes.
Well, the person that was gonna present 17's not here, so I'm gonna take no action on 17. Number 18, I will also take no action on. So we're moving on to 19. Discuss, approve, disapprove estimate from Pine Ridge Service Center to repair the back drive shaft of the 2013 Dodge four-door pickup. I don't have the number on here for you, on this part, it's on, should be in there. But
We
I
were told
will.
it was in, we do have the parts in the shop, we have the parts ready to go. This is just a quote for the labor on the drive shaft itself. They did estimate high just to make sure all their bases are covered, so it should be less than $500. However, with me being out of town second week in January, it's the perfect time for the truck to be down in the shop, get it fixed, have it ready to go when we get back for the beginning of the year.
You said we already have the part, is it new use?
So we just need to change out the U-joints. We already have the U-joints in the shop, they're brand new. Absolutely.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dean,
Yes.
Bach,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Grant.
Yes.
Alright. Number 20, was brought up because of last week's discussion, or not last week. Or was it last week? Yeah. So, discuss, approve, disapprove tarring machine to patch repair streets. That was kind of an ARPA deal that I'd asked, to be looked into, where we've already kind of set our ARPA reimbursement. Probably no action at this time.
You know,
For the record,
can I add
I'm
something?
super excited to sell us that machine. They called me like 9 times.
Can I add something to this? Okay, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea, Roy, for a tarring machine. I worked for the state years ago, been out there doing that very bit of work. There's a lot more that goes into it that we would really need to discuss and make a plan, because there's more to it than just buying this machine and getting it done. I don't want to shoot from the hip and buy something that then we find out later that we have to spend more and more and more money just to be able to do the work.
So, right, I was looking into it just on a recommendation, that's all I was
Mhm.
doing, so.
I
I
don't
do
think-
realize there's more than just a tarring machine.
Right.
You gotta clean the hole, you gotta prep it. Yeah, I realize that, I work for the state too.
Mhm.
So, when you if you buy a tarring machine, of course you'd have to have an air compressor.
Well, so we looked into a tarring machine with the air compressor connected to it, with the batteries, with all the hoses. We also looked into a cutter for the concrete. I mean, I talked to this dude for a couple hours. It was definitely a good long conversation, and we tried to make it as comprehensive as a quote, and we were looking at some pretty serious money for something like that. Not to mention, we're not entirely sure we have a crew big enough with everyone in the city working on it to be able to maintain daily operations on top of it.
Well, heck, we'll just take
That'd
out
be
the money.
They said if we circle back to this, or we're looking at something like a big thing, we're gonna have to go to bid.
So, alright.
And real fast, just for cause I'm fairly new to this council, as far as in years past, have we ever had a professional company come in and bid or anything along that line? And roughly
We
what?
at one time had a bid,
Who are
but
you?
nobody followed through with it.
Who are you?
Can you state your
My
name?
name's Ron Thompson. At one time, we had a bid, and nobody got back to them. And when we got back to them, they said they didn't have time and or whatever. Am I correct, Connie? Isn't that the way the situation was?
Something like that, yes.
What you could do, just an idea, occasionally, there's a company that comes out of South Dakota that does chip seals. Top Coat's what their name is, they come to Sioux County, they come to Dawes County. if you find out when the counties, either one of them are doing a project, you try to coordinate, it saves you a ton of money on mobilization. And they get in and get out, I mean, they do it fast.
And the last, stand up, the last company that we looked into, they said for what we wanted done, they wouldn't even come here because it wasn't worth their time and effort.
It would be to our advantage to find out when the counties are doing a project and have Tom come to the project.
A piggyback type deal.
Like I said, mobilization.
A lot of times those companies will come and approach us, Johnson approached us for the same thing, they're doing work in the area.
If they're in the area, they'll probably save you 20 to 30 grand just getting here.
Alright,
Next time they come, ask them to give you a bid.
an estimate.
Or an estimate, not an estimate, not a bid.
Alright. Then move on. 21, discuss, approve, disapprove treasurer's report.
Diger, this is November 2024 treasurer's report. Okay, so actually, we're doing a lot better than the last few months. We have a carryover from October, goes right into November. $195,294.09 was the G-Works balance as of October, carries right into November. We actually have an increase in our revenue from last month, and a few months before that as well. Our finances were looking better. Our expenses were generally higher than our revenue, so we're kind of evening out, and the increase, the revenues were $253,011.66, and it increased from last month over 103,000. So we had our street highway allocations that finally came in that total a little over 93,000. We had a city sales tax, which was 41,000 plus, and then we had the second and third quarter of Keno payments that came in, so that really helped. So our expenses, they also increased a little, only by $29,414 from last month. So the expenses for this month are $204,504.62. So our ending balance in G-Works at the end of November was $208,518.91. So that is actually before that you take out all the outstanding transactions that have not cleared. So before I get to that portion of it, I just kind of want to go through the change in assets and liabilities. And in the asset, most of them are interest payments from the CDs that we have, to ARPA, loans, CARPA, Keno, and USDA. The Keno is showing on the assets because it doesn't show in our general fund, so it kind of is deducted out of there for that $18,799. And we have our RTS transfer over monthly, as well as our sewer bond transfer over monthly. So those are the main larger assets changes, and in liabilities, they're really small. We've had a lot of AFLAC changes and adjustments, so they're going to show on there. And then, of course, the water on both the asset side and the liability side, that you have the ins and outs of the utility billing portion, which is the transfers and payments. So, does anybody have a question on those?
How much was the general through public transportation? Oh, it's kind of hard to see from here on the screen.
Oh, that's the, you mean on the
Go up.
regular treasurer report?
Yeah, go up a page.
$30,465.
Is that in the, a negative 138 or 78?
Where are you seeing?
134. The furthest right column in bold,
126, 298.58.
and that includes USDA, which really, I wouldn't want to count in there. So, but that's how much the governmental funds owe water and sewer then.
Yeah. Or below that.
And then golf owes them they're negative,
Right.
that, well, 134, but you could add in USDA's. How much is USDA's? Can't see it. 30 something?
30.
40?
38,266.
More like 160 something.
Yeah.
So that's being covered by water and sewer also.
Yeah.
That's what you have to keep watching.
There's not many USDA's,
That's lottery, yeah, the lottery number.
the lottery number.
Oh, okay, it's lottery,
Yeah.
which you don't really
Oh,
want to
I
count
don't
in
know.
there either because you like to keep that separate.
Yeah.
You don't want to obligate that towards your regular spending.
Right. Excuse me. So,
But you're showing, or we're showing that it is included in that, aren't we?
Yeah, but if you subtract that out,
So it's 164.
you know, then the negative would be 160 some.
164, 570 or 550.
That's yikes. That's all. That's,
but it's definitely looked better than it has been for, since.
Past year or two.
Yes. So the numbers look a little better to me, it's pretty much what I'm seeing compared to previous months, especially with the highway allocations coming in.
oh, so that, did you get what they moved out because it was put into early, that 50 some?
That's still as it stands right now.
So it hasn't been added back in yet?
No,
Okay.
no, it hasn't.
And did you have any questions on where it picked up from mine then, or did that get all straightened out?
That got
Straightened out. And the ARP account, did that get straightened out?
Yes.
Okay.
And all the CD interest got fixed.
Annual treasurer's report been published yet? That should probably,
Well, I thought I hadn't said January
November 30th, actually.
for the fiscal year.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
well, then I can get that done, and then the annual one is in January. And so, after, okay,
Did you get an auditing firm hired yet?
no,
No?
is that it?
Are we making any progress on that?
Well, I called that company back that said that they're willing to work with us 3 times. He has not answered me, so I'm going to go ahead and call the other 2 companies that are on my list that are also calling. One of them is the one that said if we're going to want to extend our time, that he's willing to help us fill out the paperwork and work with us once he's got that free time after. So,
Okay.
and they're not working well with me. They're all busy. They're all in the middle of the audits that they've already had. Yeah. So after all the outstanding transactions, we balanced to the actual bank at $233,028.77. The only other thing is all the banks together. Currently, we stand at $1,439,808.18 in all of our accounts, which includes the loan CD and the other 3 unused CDs in the Security Trust Bank. And we did receive interest on them this month. So the loans received $134.09, and the CD that was put in at initially at $176,000 received $1,606.11 interest.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, on the investment schedule, so we have a Keno CD with $3,800.10, or $3,810.71, is that, am I reading that right?
That was the amount prior to the interest that just got in, but yes, the Keno
Okay.
is
So,
So is that just the Keno fund or the?
the Keno bank account. Oh, no, the Keno funds that's in.
It was invested.
in
so what are we drawing on interest on the Keno bank account?
That is under, the Keno for that month is $30.01. so it's,
No, that's on the CD. But back here on the bank and investment balances report,
oh, I'm sorry, well, no, maybe that shouldn't be the CD interest, because that's the actual interest received from the bank. No, I'm sorry, you can get confused. I don't think we get interest, James, I don't
Yeah,
think we
so-
get interest.
so you weren't the clerk at the time, but, we were requesting information, during the budget hearing, correct?
I'm trying to remember when that was out.
Cause we asked Mike Scow what we could do to invest the Keno funds.
Right.
And he said as long as it's a FDIC insured, we could do a money market, we could do a CD, we could do lots of stuff, but we were looking at that time, at taking 100,000 of that balance and putting it into a higher interest bearing. So,
You can, but you also have to have the availability of Keno funds should you get Keno requests. So if you put it in a long-term CD and you can't service your request, that probably defeats the purpose of the statute as far as community improvement.
How much has to be allocated towards being available for fiscal year?
It's based on requests coming from the public for projects, right? You haven't had any for a long time. You know,
But is there a percentage of those funds we have to leave available to them too?
Not that I'm aware of.
so that, I mean, if we invested 100,000, that still leaves us
But you-
$147,958.43, or I mean, $47,958.43.
But you possibly have some projects you might wanna use Keno funds yourself for.
Then you can invest in a CD, so I don't.
Money market would probably be safer because you can move money in and out of those with some
I was gonna
restrictions.
say, Ken's
But those,
restrictions on
that 7-month CD
money
is
that's sitting in
4.45 or 4.5.
Yeah, oh, I get it,
I mean,
but if.
even if we do
If-
like 49 grand and leave 100 available,
The-
they're still making 4 grand.
The reason that, right, and the reason that we brought that up was because of the changes at the state level, that we were informed that we were gonna be getting less Keno funds. So we had talked about investing what we have and trying to make it last a little longer.
Right.
So then I'll look into and see what the restrictions are.
Okay,
Go from there.
thank you.
So, I need a motion to approve, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report for November.
Do I have a second?
Steve,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Devon.
I'm gonna abstain.
Alright. 22, discuss, approve, disapprove, authorize the interim clerk, or city clerk treasurer to prepare payroll claims for the upcoming payroll, and for the council to pre-approve these claims in advance of the payroll distribution scheduled for December 23rd, 2024. And
Isn't that the warrant that I signed?
this,
It's bookkeeping, this is bookkeeping, because you don't have it in next week.
Okay,
so,
make a motion to approve.
do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Dean,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Devon.
Yes.
23, approve bills and claims, requisition orders, and transfers.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Yeah, well,
Who's the one?
with the contingent of the mayor's signature, of course.
Yeah. I'll sign
Jane Bailey again. I'll just pass this, you can pass it down. Speaking of claims, it's just a new requirement that whenever you have to put on the website dues and memberships you pay to any organization or association. They're looking at lobbying things, but though you don't do that. So when it comes, you probably don't have any in front of you tonight. But league, you pay the league utilities section, you got PAD, you got NNDC, you got, and the attached pages, I just summed it up for you, and the attached pages are, examples from Dawes County and a couple other cities or villages, how they do it. So
Thank you, Jane.
Thanks,
Thanks, Jane.
Catch that up, that was only required as of July, so.
Thank you.
So, you had made a motion. Do I have a second on the approved bills, claims, requisition orders, and transfers?
Yeah, I'll give a second.
Gibby,
Yes.
Grant, yes, Reed,
Yes.
DeBock.
Abstain.
Alright.
I
So,
would like to make a motion to enter executive session to discuss council issues.
I need a second, please. Personnel issues.
Okay, I'll make a second.
Alright. Thank you all for
That was
coming.
the vote.
Oh, yeah, need the vote, sorry.
Reed,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Gibby,
Yes.
DeBock.
Yes.
Alright, now, thank you all for coming.